welcome to the New Mexico Momcast. I'm Vanessa Bush.
And I am still Becca Let's Go Toops.
All right, we are here. We have a great topic for you today. We were talking so much beforehand. I'm like, wait, no, stop. Save the content.
We got to save the content that we're passionate. I feel like anything that we bring into this podcast is something that's like big on our minds.
That we're thinking about.
Yeah,
right.
And so we have a lot of feelings.
So today's topic is what I wish I would have known about parenting before getting into it.
Mom life. Yep, we're gonna dive in. We've got some stuff from contributors, but before then, I didn't even think about what my mom win was for the week. So I hope you have a good one.
I have one.
Okay.
And that is that my husband has been traveling for almost 2 weeks. He's been out of the country, and I have made it. He comes home tomorrow. So that, yeah.
Do you feel like people give you grace or there's empathy with that? Like, or because I feel like if it was flipped and you were out of town for 2 weeks and your husband was like, I'm sorry, the kids don't have any shoes on. My wife's been out of town for 2 weeks. They'd be like, oh, you're doing a great job. You're an amazing dad. Are you getting the same?
I do feel, I don't know about the same, but I do feel like a lot of people have like checked on me.
Because I feel for you.
A lot of people have checked on me, and a lot of people have come through for me, and with driving especially, because I'm like, hey, I got one soccer game when another kid needs to get picked up somewhere, and so I've had lots of people kind of pitching in, if you will.
Well, then,
so thanks, friends.
Yeah, then this is a PSA. Then check on your single mom friends.
Right.
Hey, can I pick somebody up? Can I help you with dinner? Can I do something?
Yeah.
Because that's constant, and that's something that I feel like doesn't always get all the credit that it should, or all the help that it should.
They are one person.
Yeah. Check on your single mamas. What was my parenting one? This is going to air a little later, but I feel like it's still going to be relevant because APS is given 75 days off of school recently, and
so many days. I've
survived, and we did some activities. It wasn't just all TV and iPad and video games. So
I did not have that win.
That's okay. to each. You're single-handedly doing it. So
that's right.
You're fine. Give them all the iPads, the snacks, the whatever you need to do just to survive. Survival mode.
There you go.
All right. So there's been something going around I've seen it. I always say this. My kids cringe every time and it makes me laugh. So I say it more on the TikTok.
On the TikTok.
I say on the TikTok. And it's about the crunchy, scrunchy, and silky mom. And which one are you? And people are making funny little cute videos. So the crunchy mom is something that we know is like, it's the Gwyneth Paltrow. It's the homeopathic, use your essential oil. I know there's not to knock that. I have all the respect for the people that have the conviction and the time and the energy. The cloth diaper. Did you ever try cloth diapers?
I did not. My mom cloth diapered, and I remember, and I'm a lot older than my siblings, and so I remembered that situation. I was like, no, can't do it.
Did you have to help with them?
I did.
Yeah, no.
And I was not a fan, and so I did go the opposite way.
When I had my first child, I tried, and there was like a hybrid, like a cloth diaper, but I feel like the insert could be like dissolved and put down the toilet, and you put a new insert. I tried that for like a second, and then I was like, you know what? I don't feel convicted in this way anymore. I've got to go.
I feel like, everybody has to make their choices about what's most important and what they can do. And I felt like I couldn't do it. Laundry is not my gift.
Yeah. Unmedicated birth. There's all the things that go along with it. The wooden toys are a big thing that I feel like is sometimes indicative of the crunchy mom.
Yeah.
And then you and I had this epiphany before we started recording.
We had no idea till today. We had this in common.
We were both raised by crunchy, like hippie mamas.
So crunchy. Like it was like the 80s and early 90s, and my sweet mom was making her sourdough while everybody else was wearing like shoulder pads, and like it was like the epitome of yuppie culture. And my mom had chickens.
Oh yeah, my mom. We were not allowed to have any white refined sugar in the house. But I'm going to tell you, the flip of that is because I wasn't allowed it when I was exposed to it. I would go to a friend's house. It would be like a joke, like Becca comes over and raids our snack. She wants 3 bowls of cereal instead of 1 because she's never exposed to this sugar or the box with the cartoon on it and things like that. I was so excited about it. So I feel like I've gone a little bit the other direction as a result.
That's interesting. I feel like I care mostly about health and eating right, but there's obviously times to splurge. But I definitely kind of not done a lot of those crunchy things in my adulthood because I was like, I've been there. I know that chickens are a pain in the rear, and I never want any.
Not raising the chickens.
Congratulations to all of you suburban chicken mamas, like not me. And then and like the cloth diapering and that type of thing. But yeah.
So then the flip of that, the opposite end of the spectrum would be the silky mom. That's what they're referring to as a silky mom. Kind of takes all the shortcuts, has all the sugary snacks, does the iPads, the epidural, the easy way to go about it, taking those. So, and then the middle ground is the scrunchy mom.
Scrunchy. I do love scrunchies in general.
I mean, you can't go wrong with a good scrunchie. So the crunchy, scrunchy, silky. So where would you put yourself on that?
I would say I am I'm probably a combination of scrunchy, silky. Like I don't mind a good shortcut. I don't. When my kids were younger, especially, I cared a lot about them eating right.
Very healthy, yeah.
But then they grow up and they all eat hot Cheetos, and what do you do?
That red dye, it's going to get in there.
What do you do? Like, you can't follow them around and pull things out of their mouth when they're 15. Apparently, that's frowned upon. I
like surrounding myself with different variations of both. So it's like, I've got my super crunchy friends. I've got a really silky friend. I have somebody who does a little bit in between. And I like to kind of find and I think that's the idea, is that everyone now is kind of sees the benefit in some things, knows that not everything is attainable and having those unrealistic expectations, and then finding, like you said, what's important to you.
Yeah. Well, and the day of the year when I throw it all out the window is definitely Halloween. I am like so like impressed with you moms who are like, my kid can have one piece of candy per day from now till February. I'm like, you know what? Take today, go to town, and just, I don't care. Eat as much as you want. That's what I do. It's not great.
No,
but it is what we do.
But you're being realistic. You're not pretending like we don't eat candy in this house. Like, no, just put it out. I've been snacking on it. It's been sitting on a bowl on the counter because I'm trying to get rid of it. But I have a friend who makes cakes, and what I end up doing is just giving, like, eventually, like, out of sight, out of mind, slip it out, and then just give it to her so she can use it for her, like, cake decorating or whatever.
That's great.
Or you can give it to the troops too.
There are lots of things to do. Okay. Yeah, with the leftover candy. There is a article on our website all about that.
Boom.
Yes.
Nice.
Boom.
Vanessa with these transitions again.
We don't do that because we just eat it all immediately in the Bush household.
What's wrong with that? Okay, so we are gonna dive right into our actual topic. We could talk about Halloween candy all day. We'll have a separate episode about leftover Halloween candy and maybe some recipes. But we've got some great things to discuss. So some contributors rang in. We pulled up some different articles. I've got a great article that Vanessa wrote a couple of years back.
I forgot till this morning that I wrote that. So thank you.
Yeah. So let's see. Hannah is one of our contributors, and she said, there was so much my husband and I talked about theoretically before having kids, but we really couldn't have known how we'd react to certain situations until we had kids. Our relationship has changed so much because of it. And she put in parentheses, in good ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's in bad ways, though.
Sometimes it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
What that says to me is, like, I look back to before I had kids and I would never let my kid. Or you discuss how you think parenting, what kind of parent you think you're going to be. And there's no rule book for that one. It goes.
It's is there anything you said I would never do?
Yeah. The big one that I was like very look down my nose about was I would never put my kid on a leash.
So did you leash him?
Yeah.
Did they try to walk into the Grand Canyon?
No,
so you said, I need a leash? Because that's what I did.
Some kids you don't need to leash, and that's fine. That's true. The leash is, it's a little monkey backpack with a tail, and you hold them. And it does. It looks real wild. But then, when you've had a runner in a parking lot, and you're like,
it's terrifying.
Trying to load one baby in, and the toddler goes running, you're like, you know what? I'm putting a collar and a leash, dog tags. Here's identification on my child, so that I would never. It's not that I made a huge habit of it, but there are certain situations, and don't knock it until you've been in that situation.
It's scary. Yeah. I think mine often revolved around food, and I think especially when my boys were little, I took a lot of pride in them eating well, and they like ate all their vegetables and whatever. Well, guess who hates vegetables now? That he's like an adult on his own. He did tell me the other day he eats from the salad bar at the college dining hall pretty often. See? So I do feel a little proud, But for the most part, he does not like vegetables. And then, they're all going to grow up and drink Red Bull. That's what they're going to do.
The Red Bull and hot Cheetos. It's true.
Uh-huh.
I feel like the other one that like always comes in is the co-sleeping. Like, I'll never let my kid co-sleep. Or my kid will never do. Anytime you catch yourself saying that, not that there's probably a lot of people who don't have children here. Everyone that listening is like, preach. But anytime, and I think too, even when you have young kids and you have like babies, and like my teenagers will never, don't
do it.
You know what? You're going to jinx yourself. You better go over and knock on some wood right now.
It's not going to go well for you.
Going to be in big trouble. So I think that's what I wish I would know. So Dina said, it's okay to have a minimalist birthday party with store-bought decorations and pizza. We shouldn't go into debt throwing Pinterest or Instagram-worthy parties that our kids will likely forget. They will only remember the feeling they had, the happiness, and the fun.
Yeah, they're going to remember how they felt.
Yes.
Yeah. Did they feel loved? Did they feel cherished and special?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And was it about them? I'm gonna stop this. I'm guilty.
But you enjoy it and you love it, and it's
so
not a
fun.
stressor for you.
Oh, it definitely can still be. I absolutely yell at my family like about 30 minutes before the party when my husband just decides then to get in the shower, and I'm like,
it's great.
What are you doing? But I do love it. But I think it's really important keeping it about the kids too. And part of my passion for parties, I think, comes from being a December birthday and having December kids and making them still want to feel special and like about them. But there's been years where I'm like, literally 1 year for my daughter, I got her a unicorn balloon and it was like a tub of ice cream and we sang, and that was all I physically had, because
that, you know what, sometimes that's all you have.
And that's what you do, flip back and forth. And also, like, my kid's turning 16 and he knows he's not getting a BMW,
what?
Or his this, wrapped in a red bow, or, those sorts of things. So
bad parents.
I have so much guilt already.
Please.
Just kidding. But no, I mean, I think the moral of that is keeping it within your capacity,
Exactly.
And not feeling bad and not the comparison game.
Yeah. No, I'm not playing. I don't play that with parties for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's one of my big, I wish you'd know, is the comparison game. And not so much with parties, but with like anything. When I was a new mom, you're reading your what to expect when you're expecting. And I'm, oh my gosh, cluster feeding. Oh my gosh.
What does that even mean?
The nap schedule with the sleep, this, and it's that's the part that what you should do with a baby, or all these things. And I have friends that are very structured and very regimented with their children, with their toddlers, because that works for them and it works for their family.
Well, and it's like their personality, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, so my sister-in-law and I are really close, and I'm kind of like a wing it sort of person, and she's not at all. She's so structured, and we just parent very differently, and we can appreciate each other and just know that we're just not doing things the same, right? And it's okay, because it fits for her personality. But for me to be on like a really strict nap schedule with my kids, like, felt like a prison sentence, right?
Yeah, that I'm very much that way. I'm structured and regimented about some things, but some things I'm a little bit like spontaneous, shoot from the hip. And like my kids would sleep in a car seat in the corner of the room, and like those other kids kind of need like a noise machine and the blackout curtains, and that works, and it's great. And also that those parents maybe need that time where the kid goes to bed at X time and they have their time to themselves. And sometimes, for sure, my kids are running wild at 9:30, and that's
I get it,
how it goes. That's how it goes. But the idea is not to feel that pressure, and to also, I feel like I needed to trust my instincts. And I would worry, like, are you going to know? Do you know how to do this? There is a lot that internally how to do as a parent. Some things are scary and don't feel bad about asking for help, but I didn't. I was the oldest of 5 and took care of a lot of kids, and I was surprised how much kind of came naturally caring for a child and what I kind of knew by instinct. And if you didn't, Google's out there, or ABQ Mom, because you can look up just about anything on there, Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that kind of fits with one of the things that I wrote down that I wish I would have known, is that I didn't have to invent the wheel. Like, one, the instinct is a thing, but two, with parenting, I feel like right now, a lot of people are like, just don't worry about any advice you've ever been given. You just do what, you feel is best. And I think, okay, well, that's great. And I understand where they're coming from. But I also feel like there are millions and billions of people who have been parents before me who have wisdom that I can learn from. And so I don't have to do it all on my own. I don't have to have all the answers. I know I need community and people. And I feel like a long time ago, right, we lived in the same village or town as our moms and grandmas. And so we had like the mom people there teaching us how to be moms. And we don't have that as much anymore, right? That's not the kind of culture we live in anymore. And so I don't know, just it's okay. It's okay to take advice, and you don't have to feel like you have to have all the answers, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Yeah. Well, and I like that idea. Like, we don't live in the same village or town necessarily with everyone. You can't go next door to the hut and be like, here, mom, watch my kid. I have to go have a break, go down to the river. It's like,
that sounds great.
That sounds nice.
I'm going to build my mom a hut. Will you move here, Mom?
There is, you know what? The mother-in-law quarter is a real thing. I see both sides of the argument on that one for sure. You know, let's see. What else do we have here? Lauren, this is in the same vein of what Dina had said, but I like this too. And we talked about holidays in another episode, and we'll definitely, I think I'm getting out of order in the time-space continuum.
It's fine.
The New Mexico Momcast time. So that's a preview for what things to come on New Mexico Momcast. But speaking about holidays, Lauren jumped in right here. Your kids know the experience they have with you at your home. They aren't thinking, why doesn't my mom do all the Pinterest stuff? For example, we do Elf on the Shelf, but minimally, just moving the elf at our best. Like, hey, the elf moved from the couch to the shelf. It's fine.
Good job, Elf.
It has been some of the greatest memories of their childhood. They don't know all those Pinterest-worthy elf adventures are out there. They're just so happy to have the experiences they have and aren't comparing to other families.
I think that's great. I think, they're not on Pinterest.
Yeah, I feel like they don't know that until they get to high school and they go to somebody else's house and they're like, so-and-so has this. Why don't I have this? But when they're little, it's magic.
It's fine. We have had a little of that with my daughter's birthday parties. She's like, wait a minute. It's like,
you see the wheels start turning.
People are not doing that. And I'm like, I am out of energy. But I have done some big. She had a Hamilton themed birthday party.
Girl,
it was great. But she definitely has taken note. but I agree in that, especially when they're little, they don't know. No. And you shouldn't put pressure on yourself if it's not what you love.
Yeah, let it go, like Elsa says.
Yeah. Thanks, Elsa, for that.
Thank you. Also, I just love the idea. I know your daughter is big into theater and drama, but I just wanted to think for a second, she's just like really big into history and was like really obsessed with Alexander Hamilton.
No. It's not the history.
Just kidding. It's so funny. I actually have a nephew that's very big into history and will like quote stuff about different wars to you and like quiz you and stuff. It's really intense.
I should not meet him.
I love that he's like correcting you.
Like, you're wrong. I'm not really sure the difference between Vietnam and Korea.
So Melissa, another contributor of ours, said definitely what she wished she would have known, definitely how much I couldn't do it on my own. We need community. We need people. We need our friends who don't have kids, and we need friends with kids in different stages of life. We need to be open to accepting wisdom from older generations and not just using Google as our guide.
I think that's great. Yeah, it was really important to me when my kids were little that I had people in my life who had teenagers at the time. And I would kind of look at these families and be like, what do I want mine to look like? And I would literally like just kind of hang out with them to see what they were doing. And I learned a lot. There was actually one couple that we knew, and their kids were awesome teenagers. And now they're like grown adults and still awesome. And we were like, what are you doing? Like, what did you do? And they were like, oh, well, our goal, like our whole lives has just been like, we want kids who are fun enough that we want to travel with them when they're grown up. So we just tried to make them fun. And I'm like, okay.
Check. Put that in the box. That's so good. Well, the big thing we didn't kind of dive into with those other ones is the labor and delivery.
Oh boy.
Labor and delivery. And there's a lot of things with that, like, hey, I wish I would have known, what if this, if somebody would have told me. There were things where I was like, why didn't someone tell me this happened? No one told me. I was completely, and I read the books.
You get blindsided.
And I'm the oldest of 5 kids. I saw my mom do a lot of things, including giving natural birth. And I was in the room.
I know your mom did that because mine did too.
It was very traumatizing for me as a 5th grader.
See, you had a couple years on me. I was only in 3rd grade.
Oh, girl. Yeah. So, but hey, on that note, did you have a natural birth?
So I did it. I had to have C-section.
Oh, okay.
So I actually had 3 C-sections. So,
that's a
but nobody told you anything about those either.
No, that's a surprise because you have your labor plan, you have your this, what it's going to look like.
And I was definitely pretty crunchy.
With your plan?
With my plan for the first one. And my midwife was like, she said it so sweet, but she was like, Venessa, it's not the olden days anymore, and you don't have to die in childbirth. And I was like, okay.
Oh, geez.
I'm like, okay.
Mic drop.
Sure. The C-section sounds good.
So Gina Lee Bryant wrote an article on our website about labor and delivery, and there was like kind of 3 points, and it's poo, placenta, and still looking pregnant. And I was like, that's actually pretty good.
All those are good.
Those are all really good. And if you know, you obviously know. But those are things like that people don't really talk about, or I would also say with the first one, like you really could stress about through all of pregnancy, and it's like, just let it go. It's going to happen, and you can't do anything about it.
Sure.
No one cares. No one in that room cares one single bit.
They've seen it all.
Yeah,
they've seen it all.
It's like, well, I've done makeup for a really long time, and people would always sit down in my chair and be like, I'm so sorry, my face, I have a pimple here, I'm so sorry you have to see this, and like apologizing. I'm like, I see faces and pimples all day. I do not care about your pimple one bit. And I think that's the way the labor and delivery nurses feel.
And they're like, we have seen these all day.
We've seen this. We don't care. Please stop talking about it and move on. Yeah. But also, I think the still looking pregnant, that's a big one that people don't recognize. You leave, you think like the baby's gone, everything's going to be flat. I'm going to look back to, or somewhat back to normal. And like,
no.
Nah, girl. Nah. You walk out, you still look like you have a baby in there. It's real.
That could probably be a whole episode on its own. Definitely.
Still,
yeah. Check out that article for sure.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's a good one. But that kind of like segues into one of the things that I wrote down that I wish that I would have known. And that was that the pregnancy and the baby time of parenthood is just such a small fraction of the time you have with your kid. And I feel like I read so many books and so many, I just got so prepared for childbirth, which I never even had. And then, and for the baby time and for pregnancy, and then like 2 years and that's over. Right. And that was important, but I didn't prepare for the older years in the same way.
No one throws you a shower for having a 5th grader.
But maybe they should. It's really the 6th grade girls. Whew.
Yeah, that's the real one. Let's start doing that. Let's like, hey, you're about to have a teenager. We're gonna get together. We're gonna throw you a shower. We're gonna prepare you. We're gonna talk about it with our wisdom.
We are going to pamper you so much because you really need it.
I'm gonna make that a thing. Did you ever see the commercial? Oh man, this is good. About the mom throwing the full moon party for the daughter.
No.
For when she had her first period.
I didn't.
And it's the best commercial if you haven't seen it. And I like to impart humor into my parenting.
I think that's great.
But I would show that to my child and be like, I'm going to throw you a first party to my daughter. And Mom, don't you dare. You better not. Okay. So anyhow, back to your advice that you just gave. That was fantastic.
Yeah. No, I feel like I should have prepared. I feel like I could have prepared more for things like discipline, because like whatever comes out of you, if you're not prepared, might not be what you want, and it might be just a copy of what your parents did or how you were raised. And for me, some of that was great and some of it was not so great, but it just is like what naturally comes out. And so I just didn't prepare. I think it's mostly like for discipline and like how to handle like their challenges as they are growing.
The hard stuff. And it's always with the first one. Bless you, oldest children.
You're guinea pigs.
We're both oldest children too, so we feel it. But it's like that first one, like that first issue, like I wasn't ready for this stage yet. I don't know how to handle this really hard thing or this call from the principal or this issue or this question for this next phase.
Well, my husband would always make fun of me because he was either did you ever watch New Girl and what's his face, Winston? His pranks were either too big or too small, and that's how I was with discipline. He's like, you can't take away everything they're ever gonna do forever. Like, that's too big.
You are banished from the kingdom.
But you also can't make them just clean up one crumb. Like, that's not enough.
It's got to be somewhere in the middle.
And I can't think of discipline on the spot. Like, that's what I learned. I have to have something prepared.
It is hard. I read this especially with teenagers, you can't put even sometimes grounding them for a month, that's even too big. It needs to be more, even for a big thing that can be too much and it keeps going and it feels hopeless to them because to them a month is like forever, and so they might give up and start acting out again.
Yeah.
But it can't just be like, well, you're grounded tonight. I'm sorry you stole the car and wrecked it, and but tomorrow, sure, you can go with your friends. So it's got to be somewhere in between and kind of attainable but also impactful.
But all that to say, that was something I was really bad at and not prepared for.
With a big discipline. That's good.
Yeah.
My input on that level would be that for me, every stage is hard. And when you're a parent, especially when in the young years, you're thinking well, if we just get them potty trained, everything's gonna be easy. If we just get to school, then it'll be easier. And it's every stage is hard. Yeah. So on that note, keep looking forward, yes, to the next thing, but enjoy these moments. And it's like the grandma, enjoy it goes so fast, but it does. They only smell like a newborn for a minute, and then it's this, and then the little tiny voice and learning to walk. So the other thing I would say is take the video. Write it down.
Yeah. I feel like moms right now in this era are so fortunate that we have those video cameras on our phones. And for my oldest, he's 19. And so I don't have a ton of video, honestly, when he was tiny, because that wasn't, we were still using Nokia buzzer phones. Yeah. Remember those?
Yep. Yeah. Write it down. You think you're going to remember the cute way they say avocado, but you won't. Write it down.
Remember.
Yeah. The cutest thing ever.
Yeah. I think the last one that has been really important for me, something I wish I would have known. A lot of times I think my mind says, oh, parenting is responding to how my kids are. But I think my parenting is a whole lot about me and what's going on with me and how I respond. And I think just maybe taking a good hard look at myself and making myself the best person really is one of the best things I can do for my kids.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Digging in. Yeah. Doing the work on yourself, doing the therapy. Maybe if you didn't have the best childhood, kind of digging into that rather than just kind of smoothing over, because you don't realize how quickly you kind of find yourself in your mother's voice saying the exact same thing that she said. And that can be really wonderful, but maybe if you didn't have the best example growing up, that could also be detrimental and cyclical too.
Well, and just because my husband and I just work with a lot of people, we always say everybody needs a little bit of therapy. We just want to really minimize that for our own children. But there's always something with everybody, and I hope you don't have ton of trauma in your background, but even if you don't, there's always some stuff there that you don't want there because we're humans, right? And so it's really important, I think, to do some introspection because you're guiding your children and these humans, and you want to do it intentionally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
dig in there. And then also the surprise. Gosh, we could just talk for probably 4 more episodes. I'm like, right? Things keep coming to my mind, but being willing to say I'm sorry, recognizing your mistakes with your children is really big. And I think when we were young, we remember looking back at our parents and thinking they were perfect, but then there's a point when you realize they aren't, and being able to recognize hey, mom had a really hard day too. I understand. I love the idea of gentle parenting. Well, sometimes it's unattainable. It feels unattainable, and then you beat yourself up. But if you have a hard moment or you lash out or you make a mistake, admit it with your kids and then move on. They love you and they're going to forgive you.
There's a post about this on our website. It's called The University of Relationships. And it was one of the first posts that I wrote because it was just something that I was learning to recognize. But apologizing to your kids is a great example for them. Like, I don't want them to grow up prideful people who never think they've done anything wrong
and can't apologize
or say I was wrong. Like, I want them to be those kind of people. They're going to mess up. Yep. So let's give them an example of someone who admits fault and who wants to make it right.
Yep. Well,
love that. Yeah,
that's beautiful. Well said. And I feel like there's so much stuff we could keep going on. This may end up being a part 2 sometime for next year.
Maybe
Who knows?
so. We've got some more stuff.
But on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up here. That's our time for the day. Thank you for joining us on New Mexico Momcast. You can find us on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook. All these wonderful articles we've been referencing will be linked in the show notes. And then you can also find that and a plethora more on abqmom.com.
We hope to see you again soon.